Ladies and gentlemen, I am the one and only DJ Storms. Welcome back to the channel here on YouTube.com. This is, of course, the Lightning Flash update for April 25th, Saturday, 2020, as we are going to enter month 3 of the COVID-19 pandemic. Give yourselves a big round of applause for surviving this long. In all seriousness, I know that a lot of people are still in a depressive state. They want this to be over. They want to go out and have human interaction again. A lot of people really haven't appreciated the interactions that we have with the public as much as we do now. Because, it really is true. You don't really know what you have until you lose it. But this is, of course, the Lightning Flash update. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you who are tuning back into the channel to watch me, again, just talk about wrestling, make an idiot of myself with the persona that I present myself with. Make fun of my new mustache. I'm keeping it, by the way. I'm keeping it. But we have 5 weekly show reviews to get into. And then I got some news, so stick around till the end. I got some news on Cesaro being held back by WWE for him not being a favorited guy backstage. And I got an update on Samoa Joe's injury and Triple H confirming a new Mae Young Classic coming to WWE. And I'm here to tell you that while it may produce some great matches, don't get me wrong, I love women's wrestling. I love all types of wrestling. It's going to produce some great matches when they eventually have it. But at the end of the day, it's nothing to get hyped about. And I'm going to tell you why. But regardless of that, before we get into the festivities, we are going to run down the list of links that I'm going to put in the description. Follow me on Twitter at HistoryMakerDJS. You'll find out why I am the operator of the best damn Twitter handle known to mankind. Follow me on Instagram and Periscope at TheDJStorms. I know, again, I've been saying it in almost every single video. I have been extremely inactive on Periscope since I brought back the Thunderscope in February. Me and Thunder are going to try our best to get a new Thunderscope up for you guys. I recently just found out that the paper that I have to do for corporate finance is actually optional extra credit, so I don't have to do it. I have a little bit more time on my hands. I'm going to talk to Thunder. I'm going to see if we can get another Thunderscope. We have Crazy Train in the works. We got We Love It Loud. I believe we're going to get some more Motley Crue songs in there, possibly some more Kiss songs in there, some great bands, classic bands. We might do some modern music. We might do some Fozzy. See what happens. But those links are in the description. And, of course, add me on Facebook. Link is in the description as well. For collaborations and business inquiries, send me an email. StormsTakeOver@gmail.com is the email to send me any type of message regarding any form of collaboration, a business inquiry, any type of offer that you have for me. Then, of course, like the official DJ Storms business page, link is in the description, and I may send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. Happy birthday today to Tim Farley of Armbar Audio. Shout out to him. Last time I had him on was, I think, in November of 2018, so I definitely want to get him back on the channel. He's very, very good at what he does with his partner, Johnny Kearns, over at Armbar Audio. Go subscribe to them. Also, if you missed Quarantine with Thunder episode 4, link is in the description, as well as my Dark Side of the Ring review for the Assassination of Dino Bravo. Dark Side of the Ring reviews and Quarantine with Thunder videos have been a huge hit here on the channel. You guys have been killing it ever since this pandemic started. Again, one positive that's definitely come out of the pandemic for me is the fact that I have all this time to get content up for you guys, and you guys have been absolutely killing it. We're on the road to 2K. I know, progression's slow, but like I said, I am a greedy son of a bitch. I'm a greedy son of a bitch. We're about like 150 subs away from 2K. Please, I want to get to 2K by the summer. We're entering May. Let's see if we can get to 1.9K by mid-May. That's the goal. Of course, hit that thumbs up. Try and get this video to 25 thumbs up. And leave a comment down below. What are your thoughts on the weekly show reviews? And what are your thoughts on the news, rumors, and reports that I got for this week? Stick around till the end to find out what they all are. Hit the subscribe button, again, on the road to 2K. And, of course, hit the notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube is the best time to be on YouTube. And last but certainly not least, last, but certainly not least, Blue Riot Podcast with me and the Blue Riot. Shout out to the Blue Riot. Go follow him on Twitter at Blue Riot with 2 T's. Go follow the podcast on Twitter at Blue Riot Pod. Episode 3 of the Blue Riot Storms review, AEW Darkamite. We talked about being the Elite 200. We talked about AEW Dark and AEW Dynamite this week. The link to the podcast on iTunes is in the description. You can find Blue Riot Podcast on all platforms where you find your podcasts: Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, anywhere you find your podcast, anywhere you listen to your podcast. Go check that out. Me and him, we've been having a blast doing it. I can't thank him enough for having me as his co-host. It really means the world to me. You have no idea. So, Blue Riot, if you're watching, shout out to you. Thank you, as always. And it's certainly been a crazy week yet again for professional wrestling and professional wrestling Twitter, which I will not get into. All I will say as far as professional wrestling Twitter goes, karma is a bitch. What goes around comes around. And at the end of the day, the villains always get what's coming to them. If you know, you know. Anywho, let's get into the weekly show reviews. Monday Night Raw this week, I'm not even going to lie, I was actually looking forward to Monday Night Raw this week. I really was, but by the end of the day, outside of the Money in the Bank qualifying matches, there was nothing on the show. Nothing on the show that was worth going back and watching, nothing on the show that was worth investing our time in. Same old shit that we're accustomed to. We got a couple decent Money in the Bank qualifying matches, we got the right results in the Money in the Bank qualifying matches, but outside of that, who gives a shit? Waste of 3 hours. So, Drew McIntyre, he kicked off the show, and he was staring right into the camera, interacting with the people at home. Drew McIntyre talked about having a target on his back, and that he was told that it's lonely at the top, but he said that anyone who said that is a goddamn liar because it's actually crowded as hell at the top because everyone is looking to take the title off of you. Drew says that a lot of people say that Seth doesn't deserve an opportunity, which he doesn't. He doesn't. That right there is Vince McMahon speaking vicariously through Drew McIntyre and pretty much trying to manipulate the audience into thinking that Seth Rollins deserves an opportunity. But he says in order to be the best, he must beat the best. And then he challenged Seth Rollins to a WWE Championship match at Money in the Bank. So the idiots of the community, the WWE cocksuckers of the community, will act as if, oh, Drew McIntyre's challenging Seth Rollins, so automatically that makes it okay, and that makes this entire situation logical. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I pitched the idea. Why not have Edge go forth against Drew McIntyre? Where is Edge? He beat Randy Orton. I don't know about you, but again, I will state, if you beat a guy like Randy Orton, who has done everything upon everything in this business, I would say that constitutes as a legitimate claim for a World Championship match. Meanwhile, Rollins lost to Kevin Owens. Doesn't make sense. And again, for those of you trying to justify it by saying, oh, they have no other top heels, where is it written in the rule book that a babyface world champion needs to defend against heels? Doesn't make any sense. So Garza, Theory, and Zelina Vega came out. And there was actually a funny back and forth between Zelina and Drew McIntyre. Zelina mocked Drew McIntyre's accent, and Drew McIntyre said, hey, Zelina, the number one thorn in my ass. How you doing? I'm actually going to start using that in my real life. I'm going to start, because there's a lot of people who are thorns in my ass, but I'm actually going to start using that in real life. So Andrade jumped Drew McIntyre from behind, and he got Claymore twice. Vega was egging on Garza and Theory to go in and help Andrade, and they elected not to do so. When they had a 3-on-1 advantage, by the time Andrade came out, they just let Andrade take on Drew McIntyre on his own, and then when Drew McIntyre claymored Andrade, they didn't go in to help Andrade. When it's a 2-on-1 advantage. Doesn't make sense at all. How is it that you booked them like beasts last week, taking on everyone, but now here against the world champion in a 2-on-1, 3-on-1 advantage, now you don't? Not a very good look for them. Drew McIntyre is great on the microphone, don't get me wrong. Drew McIntyre is excellent on the microphone. 2, I still don't like the fact that they're having Andrade mix it up with Drew McIntyre now, because Andrade has a priority of his own. Andrade is the United States champion. Doesn't really look good for the United States champion to be getting claymored for the second week in a row by the WWE champion, pretty much signifying that one championship is inferior to the other. One championship has more legitimacy than the other. Doesn't really make sense. Certainly not a good look for Garza and Theory as well. So we had Aleister Black versus Austin Theory. This was a very good match. This was a very good match. Both Theory and Black brought it in this one. One of the only highlights of Monday Night Raw. Zelina Vega, she was on commentary. She actually came out and distracted Black so Theory could take over before the commercial break. So coming back from commercial, we had a roll-through drop kick by Theory for a 2. Theory with a power bomb, but Black had like a triangle hold, and Theory powerbombed Black out of the triangle hold. Black mounted a comeback, big moonsault for a 2. We had a super kick and cross-legged brain buster down to the knee for a 2 by Theory. We had the jumping knee German suplex combination by Black for a 2. Theory dodged the first Black Mass, but he could not dodge the second Black Mass. Black Mass to Austin Theory. Aleister Black is going to Money in the Bank. Very, very good match. Hard-hitting and physical. And at the end of the day, Aleister Black, no matter what, Aleister Black is the correct man to win Money in the Bank. There's nobody else. Nobody else. Aleister Black, he's been doing nothing but winning and winning and winning and winning, and he's got nothing. This momentum that Aleister Black has been building for over a year now needs to result in something. If it does not result in the Money in the Bank contract, it will go down as a big creative mistake. But if he doesn't win the contract, then he needs to take the title off Andrade. But I would have him win the contract, because you could do a lot more with Aleister Black as the Money in the Bank contract holder. You could have Kevin Owens win the WWE Championship from Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. Owens holds it till the end of the year. Black cashes in and becomes the WWE Champion. And Black can go into WrestleMania 37 as WWE Champion. Aleister Black is your next Money in the Bank contract holder. For the last 3 years, the WWE has fucked up Mr. Money in the Bank. For the men. They gave it to Baron Corbin, and they had him lose it to Jinder Mahal. They gave it to Braun Strowman. They had him lose it to Roman Reigns in a Hell in a Cell match against Brock, when Brock Lesnar interfered and caused a DQ inside Hell in a Cell. Probably the first DQ inside Hell in a Cell I've ever seen. And then Brock Lesnar won Money in the Bank last year after 7 men destroyed each other. He reaped the benefits by only working for 30 seconds, climbing the ladder, and winning the briefcase, only to take it off of Seth Rollins and set up another match at SummerSlam. Which was one of the worst creative decisions of 2019. Aleister Black is your new Mr. Money in the Bank. End of conversation. Shayna Baszler versus Indy Hartwell. So, Baszler pretty much manhandled Hartwell and stomped on her arm. Shayna won via technicality, via referee stoppage. So she threw Hartwell into the barricade, got a ladder, placed it by the steps, and then slammed Hartwell's arm between the ladder, crushing it. Shayna Baszler doesn't need the briefcase, and based on what's been going on, and based on the women that they actually have in that match right now, there's nobody else. Shayna Baszler needs to win Money in the Bank. If Shayna Baszler doesn't win Money in the Bank, she is done. I have no faith in this company to actually book her correctly after Money in the Bank, possibly giving her a Raw Women's Championship match against Becky Lynch. Shayna needs to win Money in the Bank. They need to correct the mistake that they made at WrestleMania. Just like WWE needs to correct the mistake with Bray Wyatt that they made at Super Showdown and Goldberg, Shayna Baszler and the mistake that they made with her needs to be corrected at Money in the Bank. Shayna Baszler needs to win Money in the Bank. There is nobody else. I have no confidence that they're going to give it to Asuka either. Asuka right now, she's in a position where all of her legitimacy is pretty much killed. She needs to rebuild her legitimacy because WWE has booked her like shit for the last year and a half. Shayna Baszler needs to be salvaged. Shayna Baszler needs to be salvaged. Ricochet and Cedric Alexander versus Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink. This went 3 minutes. Really wasn't anything special. All I can say is keep doing what you're doing with these two. I can only hope that this is going to result in a tag team title run for Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. Probably sometime after Money in the Bank, because I don't see the Street Profits losing the tag team titles anytime soon. Speaking of which, speaking of the tag team division, the Revival was released on April 10th and leaked the supposed costume designs that they had set for them if they decided to stay, because Vince wanted to turn them into a comedy act. So we had the Viking Raiders, Ivar and Eric, Hanson and Rowe, the Viking War Raiding Experience Machine, whatever the hell you want to call them, and they were in a car driving around Orlando. Ivar had a mutton chop in his hand. He had a mutton, freaking turkey leg or a chicken leg. And they were both wearing their helmets, and they were doing carpool karaoke. So, you took the comedy act for the Revival, and you put it on the Viking Raiders. The Viking Raiders, whose characters are supposed to be badasses that go in there and tear people apart. Badasses that go in there and beat the shit out of people for fun. Badasses that go in there and raise hell. Badasses that go in there and do things that you've never seen men that size do within a ring. This year around this time, we were watching the Viking Raiders versus Ricochet and Aleister Black at NXT TakeOver New York. Those are the types of Viking Raiders that I want to see. You have them here, and I didn't even chuckle once. During this carpool karaoke, doing Viking fist pumps, eating turkey legs, and driving around Orlando. This was embarrassing. This was downright embarrassing. I really don't understand. What is it with the WWE and comedy acts? Comedy is rarely done right in wrestling in the modern era. With WWE overexposes it, WWE gives it to the wrong people, and WWE constantly forces it down people's throats to a point where it's not funny anymore. This wasn't funny at all. And if you think it was, you're the fucking problem. I don't give a shit. You are the problem if you think that this was funny. And then we had Bobby Lashley warming up in the PC, getting ready to flip tires. We had the Viking Raiders doing fist bumps, eating chicken legs, and carpool karaoke. And then we had Bobby Lashley flipping tires. I don't even know when the Viking Raiders segment took place in the show. I didn't even write it down because I did not even want to fucking talk about it, but I had to. Kairi Sane and Nia Jax. So now you're giving us a rematch from last week after you already showed us that you don't give a shit about Kairi Sane. Nia Jax versus Kairi Sane. Having Nia Jax on television, period, is all you need to know about how this company perceives women's wrestling. Nia Jax with the airplane spin. Nia Jax sent Kairi. She actually sent Kairi neck first into the bottom turnbuckle in one of the worst looking spots of the year that I think I've seen. She had her in a double choke bomb in a Punjabi plunge position, and she just let Kairi fall neck first into the bottom turnbuckle. The recklessness of Nia Jax is inexcusable. Absolutely inexcusable. And then I had this one fucking idiot trying to come into my mention saying that Nia Jax improved. If Nia Jax improved, you might as well call me the Green Lantern. This was even worse than last week. The only difference was this went 5 minutes as opposed to 3 minutes. The day that Nia Jax finally retires as a pro wrestler is the day that the women's division improves just slightly. Just slightly. I'm surprised that Kairi Sane wasn't among the names released last Wednesday on Black Wednesday. Released Deonna Purrazzo, Sarah Logan, MJ Jenkins. You kept Nia Jax. So Rollins, he cut a promo, actually. He was shown in the back in this beautiful chair. Looked like a throne. It looked like It looked like something straight out of The Godfather. Looked like an Italian mafia movie. He says that Drew McIntyre is a brave man, calls him a fighting champion, says that Drew and him both have a lot in common. They know what it's like to be NXT champion. They know what it's like to beat Brock Lesnar for a world title at WrestleMania. But when it comes to being a leader, the similarities stop there. And he accepted the challenge for Money in the Bank out of necessity, and he'll be taking Drew's title not because he wants to, but because he has to. Listen, I love Rollins and Drew as performers in the ring and on the microphone. They cut fairly decent promos here. But at the same point in time, this match makes no sense. Rollins has no sense of legitimacy to be challenging for a WWE Championship at Money in the Bank. He has none. Again, the guy lost to Kevin Owens not once, but twice at WrestleMania, back to back. Yet he's getting a World Championship match here against Drew McIntyre. More likely than not, the match is going to be very good. I'm not discrediting them as performers, but the entire premise of the match and the entire reasoning behind the match is so stereotypical of WWE. It's stereotypical, it's lazy, it's the same shit that we're so accustomed to. I can't get behind it. And no one should, to be quite honest with you. And if you do, you're settling. You are settling for laziness. You're settling for trash. You are settling for mediocrity. Apollo Crews versus MVP. I think this is about the 5th time that MVP retired. It was a decent match, don't get me wrong. This was a decent match. So, Crews was tripped up on the apron by MVP going into commercial. Crews with the spine buster to MVP. Big time power slam for a 2. We had the playmaker being hit by MVP, but Crews kicked out. Crews hit the enziguri, standing moonsault, standing shooting star press, and the sit-out powerbomb for the win. I'm very glad Apollo Crews is finally getting the opportunities that he deserves. I think Apollo Crews has all the tools to be a major player in the WWE. I can only hope that they continue to push Apollo Crews after this entire period is over. But will they? Probably not. And I have no faith in the company that they will. Liv Morgan versus Ruby Riott. I'm glad that Liv Morgan is finally getting the opportunities that she deserves. And if this does mean a push for Liv Morgan, I'm all for it. She actually got the win here over Ruby Riott. A surprise win over Ruby Riott, actually. I was expecting Ruby Riott to get the victory here. Morgan with some clotheslines and an enziguri. Big time missile drop kick out of the corner. We had Riott draping Morgan over the top rope and hitting a brutal super kick on Liv Morgan. They traded forearm strikes back and forth before Liv Morgan caught Ruby Riott with a flatliner off the ropes for the win. And Liv Morgan gets the shock win over Ruby Riott. And I don't know where this is leading to. I really don't have any faith that WWE is actually going to push Liv Morgan to a possible women's championship match. It would be cool if she does, because I actually do want to see what Liv Morgan can do in that scenario, but I really don't have any faith in this company. Again, it just goes back to the same thing. I do not have faith in this company. Look at their history. No one should have faith in this company. The optimism when it comes to the WWE, it's not needed. It's not needed. It's unjustified. No one should have it. And if you do, you're really setting yourself up for disappointment in any area outside of NXT. So Lashley ended up flipping his regular tire. Then he says he's going to flip a bigger tire. Going to flip a bigger tire, and it's supposedly 500 pounds. So exciting. He's going to flip a 500-pound tire. Rey Mysterio versus Buddy Murphy. This was undoubtedly the best match of the night, and a lot of people were in agreement with me on that one. This match was great. And I actually called Buddy Murphy to win this. I'm not mad that he didn't, but I called Buddy Murphy to win this. But regardless of that, he had a great showing here against Rey Mysterio. I'm glad he got the time to showcase what he can do with someone like Rey Mysterio. I can only hope that this is going to mean bigger and better things for Buddy Murphy down the line. But this match was great for what it was. Murphy was able to dodge the 619 early. Murphy actually sent Rey into the barricade on the outside, and he stomped Rey's hand onto the steel grate. The target of Buddy Murphy was Rey Mysterio's hand. I believe it was his left hand, if I'm not mistaken. So we had a Hurricane Rana off the steps to Buddy Murphy onto the steel grate. Rey Mysterio mounted a comeback with a big satellite DDT for a 2. And I want to say the satellite DDT, one of the best looking moves in wrestling nowadays. I love the satellite DDT, no matter who executes it. And if I was a wrestler, that would be one of the first moves that I want to master. It's a beautiful looking move. Probably my favorite variation of the DDT. Rey Mysterio with a Hurricane Rana into the barricade. But Buddy Murphy was able to mount a comeback with a big neck breaker down to the knee and a big V-trigger and a brainbuster for a 2. Beautiful combination from Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy was caught with a Canadian Destroyer, which looked brutal, into the 619 and a big frog splash for the win. Rey Mysterio is going to Money in the Bank. Charlotte Flair versus Caden Carter. This went 2 minutes, and Charlotte Flair wins with a figure 8. Why is Charlotte Flair on both shows? Why is Charlotte Flair on NXT and Raw? Is this woman all of a sudden above the brand split? I don't understand. And I really don't want to over-exaggerate here, but I swear, the favoritism towards Charlotte Flair, I've never seen a singular wrestling company show their clear favoritism towards one woman like they have with Charlotte Flair. This may be worse than the Fabulous Moolah back in the day. I don't really know what you want. What do you want me to say? Caden Carter loses in 2 minutes to Charlotte Flair. And again, I will ask the same question every single time I talk about Charlotte Flair on the channel. How many months is Charlotte Flair going to hold this fucking title? How many months is Charlotte Flair going to stampede through the NXT women's division before we finally get someone deserving of the championship? Oh, and by the way, for you idiots that are claiming Charlotte Flair is a draw, AEW saw a drastic ratings increase while NXT saw a decrease. And Charlotte Flair was on the show this week. Bobby Lashley, he lifted the bigger tire, and he says that that's the power everyone in the WWE needs to fear. So he lifted the 500-pound tire over and said that that's the power everyone in WWE needs to fear. That's the power in WWE needs to fear. Bobby, more people fear the stench of the shits that I take every single morning, more so than they do the power that you possess. Just pointing that out there. Andrade versus Akira Tozawa. This was actually a very fun match. It only went 6 minutes, but this was a very fun match. Akira Tozawa, one of the most consistent workers in the entire company. I've said it time and time again. I want to see better for Akira Tozawa, and I'm definitely glad that he's getting the proper opportunity to showcase what he can do. This was a very fun match, even though it only went 6 minutes, but I'm definitely glad that they gave Akira Tozawa some time to showcase what he can do with someone like Andrade. So we had a big shining wizard here from Akira Tozawa for a 2. Punt kick sending Andrade to the outside, and a cannonball off of the apron. We had a missile drop kick from Tozawa for a 2. Andrade got to the ropes, breaking up the iron octopus stretch. Tozawa with a short jab. Andrade with the drop kick. We had a barrage of pinfalls from Tozawa, back and forth. It looked very good. Super kick by Tozawa. He went for the senton, but Andrade stopped him in his tracks, hit the draping hammerlock DDT for the win. Big win here for Andrade. I'm glad Akira Tozawa is finally getting some time to shine. I can only hope that Akira Tozawa is going to continue to get this type of treatment after this entire pandemic is over. Although, again, I have no faith in WWE. As for Andrade, I think it's now time we start building some legitimate challengers for Andrade, so that way he can solidify his United States Championship title reign. His title reign has been very lackluster for 2 reasons. 2 reasons. Number 1 was because he fucked up and violated the wellness policy. Number 2 was because he got injured. One was his own fault, the other was an unfortunate accident. But I think it's now time we get him some new challengers because he needs to legitimize his title reign by beating someone other than Humberto Carrillo. Just pointing that out there. He's had 5 title defenses, and 3 of them has been against Humberto. You're not going to find legitimacy by beating the same guy over and over again. You need to beat other credible challengers. So the Street Profits came out to introduce Bianca Belair. Belair defeated Santana Garrett with the KOD, and that was it. Nothing too crazy. I can only hope that Bianca Belair is going to be in a position where she will win the Raw Women's Championship down the line. I can definitely see Bianca Belair versus Shayna Baszler. They have the history in NXT. That should definitely be something they can revisit. I mean, they revisited Andrade and Drew McIntyre, so I don't understand why they wouldn't revisit Bianca Belair and Shayna Baszler. Drew McIntyre versus Angel Garza. Your main event for the second week in a row is only getting 5 minutes. Are you really telling me you couldn't have cut out Nia Jax, you couldn't have cut out Charlotte Flair, you couldn't have cut out Bobby Lashley to make time for, I don't know, your main event? I don't care if it's a regular episode of Raw or not. I don't care if we're in the middle of a pandemic or not. This is your main event of Monday Night Raw, and it's only getting 5 minutes? And on top of that, Garza barely got any offense here on Drew McIntyre. Garza is one of the hottest new prospects in WWE. Andrade and Austin Theory with Angel Garza. All three of them are hot young prospects. And here they are being decimated by one man, by Drew McIntyre, in the last segment of Monday Night Raw, within 5 minutes. Drew McIntyre took out all three men with a Tope Con Hero. He hit the Claymore on Angel Garza for the win. He gave Garza another Claymore. He gave Theory one on the outside, and then he gave Theory another one in the ring to end the show. I really don't want to use this. I rarely use this term. I use it once in a blue moon. For those of you who've been watching my channel for the longest time, you know I rarely use this word. But if you want to talk about building a stable up 1 week and then just completely burying all of that hard work that you did in the previous week, this was it. They had Drew McIntyre go out there and completely delegitimize this entire stable. If this is going to be a stable that you people are going to take seriously, that the crowd's going to take seriously, everyone should take seriously, why are you having them go out there and get taken out by one man within 6 minutes? It is a 3-on-1 advantage. You know what this is honestly reminding me of? You remember when Roman Reigns was the WWE champion back in 2015? Remember when they formed the League of Nations with Del Rio, Rusev, King Barrett, and Sheamus? And every single week, whether it be on Raw or SmackDown, they had Roman Reigns go out there and single-handedly take out the entire League of Nations. Now they're trying to revisit that? I thought we got enough of that back at the end of 2015. We don't need that. We do not need a League of Nations incident reincarnated with Drew McIntyre, Angel Garza, Austin Theory, and Andrade. Oh, by the way, Angel Garza got new theme music apparently. I don't know why. And I don't want to hear the excuse that, oh, Angel Garza's in a main event match with the WWE champion. He lost in 5 minutes and he barely got any offense. If you're going to have a hot young prospect like Angel Garza against the WWE champion, I understand that Drew McIntyre's not going to lose. He's the world champion. But at the same point in time, if you're going to have Angel Garza against the WWE champion, have them go 15 to 20 minutes and develop legitimacy for a guy like Angel Garza, showing that he can hang with the world champion. You don't build someone up by sacrificing someone else. You don't take one to give one. You don't need to delegitimize someone in order to legitimize someone. If you're going to have the WWE champion take out 3 men at once, 3 men who realistically are the future of the company, whether you like it or not, they are the future of the company. 3 men who are the future of the company, you're having them being taken out by one man, when Drew McIntyre realistically is the most legitimate guy on Monday Night Raw. He doesn't need to be further legitimized. He's as legit as you can get. You don't need to sacrifice these guys and have them eat Claymore after Claymore after Claymore after Claymore to end Monday Night Raw every single fucking week. 2 weeks in a row, 5-minute main event, 2 weeks in a row, Drew McIntyre completely takes out these guys. Their legitimacy is gone. The legitimacy for this stable is gone. And it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long, long time for the WWE to rebuild that legitimacy. They're all great at what they do. Don't get me wrong. Andrade, Garza, and Theory, they're all great at what they do, but this was completely unnecessary. There is no justification for what we got. These guys have been delegitimized. No one is going to take them seriously after what happened. League of Nations reincarnated. League of Nations reincarnated. Moving on to AEW Dark. This was a very academic show again. Nothing too crazy. We had Anna Jay versus Penelope Ford. Anna Jay, I actually see having a big future in AEW. So Anna Jay was in control before Sabian distracted her. Anna Jay, though, did come back with a corner snapmare, kneeling neckbreaker for 2. Ford came back with a stunner and fisherman suplex for the win. Penelope Ford, I'm definitely glad that Penelope Ford is getting her due. And I definitely want to see Penelope Ford in a major program after this pandemic is over. Obviously, you can't have that right now because Nyla Rose is quarantined, but I'm definitely glad that Penelope Ford is getting her due here in All Elite Wrestling. Nothing too special. Penelope Ford gets the win. And then in the main event of AEW Dark, we had Joe Alonzo versus Cody. Another academic match. We had a power slam by Cody, but Alonzo was able to kick out. Alonzo missed the moonsault and hit Cody with the cutter, but Cody no-sold it, got right back up, locked in a Gale lock for the submission win on Joe Alonzo. Cody building momentum towards his semi-final matchup in the TNT Championship Tournament. So Cody cut an excellent promo, actually, to start AEW Dynamite. AEW Dynamite, actually, much better than last week's show. Much better than last week's show. Last week's show was fucking terrible outside of a decent match between Lance Archer and Colt Cabana, and then a match between Chucky T and Kip Sabian. Outside of that, the show was terrible, especially that main event. But this week, much, much, much better. So Cody cut an excellent promo to start the show, talking about the rest of the men left in the TNT Championship Tournament, and I love how they did this. You see, WWE, they legitimized Drew McIntyre, but they delegitimized Austin Theory, Angel Garza, and Andrade in the main event of Raw. But to start Dynamite, you see, Cody hyped up his opponents. And Cody made each and every single opponent left in the tournament seem legit as ever. That is how you build up people. That is how you build up people, and that is how you build up people without taking away from others. That's the one thing that AEW does down to a T. They know how to build up individuals without taking away from other individuals. So we started off with Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin in the quarterfinal matchup, in the second to last quarterfinal matchup of the TNT Championship Tournament. Sammy actually dove out of the ring on Darby before the bell with a Fosby flop, similar to what Darby did to Sammy Guevara back at Revolution. He tossed Darby into the barricade and then set up a ladder between the ring and the barricade. And this was not an aluminum ladder. This was a legitimate climbing ladder, a metal ladder. He draped Darby over the ladder, went up to the top rope, said, "I'm crazy," does a beautiful frog splash, bounces off of Darby Allin. Both men bounce off the ladder. The ladder doesn't even dent. The ladder does not even dent. Doesn't break whatsoever. I'm thinking to myself, these guys are out of their fucking minds. After the way that the last two matches started, I was thinking to myself, I expect one of these guys to die. The fact that one of these guys is not seriously injured after these last two meetings between them is shocking. It is undoubtedly shocking. I do not have any words. Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin, they are out of their fucking minds. You could not pay me all the money in the world to take a spot like that. So the match eventually starts, and Darby is on the defense for a while. He actually took Sammy Guevara's boot and sock off. We had a springboard cutter to Darby by Sammy for a 2. Darby actually missed the suicide dive and went into the barricade, and I swear to God, if Darby Allin keeps on missing these suicide dives, he's going to pop his fucking shoulder out one of these days. Darby Allin, he really does not give a shit about his physical well-being. It's frightening. To watch Darby Allin wrestle is very, 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 very frightening. We had a beautiful 630 senton by Sammy Guevara, but Darby grabbed the rope. Sammy was caught with an over-the-top stunner. Darby went for a springboard coffin drop off the ropes, a springboard coffin drop to a standing Guevara, but Guevara caught him. He was going for the burning GTS, but Darby reversed it into the Last Supper, crossed the legs. Darby Allin gets the win. Damn good match. Sammy looked good in defeat. Darby looked great in victory. And now we get Darby versus Cody Part 3. And after the last two matches, I expect this match to tell just as good of a story, if not better, than the last two matches. This was a damn good match. Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara brought the fucking fight to one another. Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara brought it in this quarterfinal matchup. Still not the best match of the tournament. I still think the best match of the tournament was Shawn Spears and Cody, in my eyes. That 23-minute match, great match. Probably the best match that AEW has put on in front of no crowd. So, Matt Hardy, he was cutting a promo on Chris Jericho. He addressed Chris Jericho, le hole of the ass. He challenged Guevara to come and do Jericho's dirty work. He called him a false god. And he says that Chris Jericho cannot handle his broken brilliance. So Matt Hardy, the vessel, will talk to him. So they transferred over to Matt Hardy, the man. And I actually liked what they did here. They're finding a healthy medium between broken Matt Hardy and regular Matt Hardy. That's something I can definitely get behind. Matt Hardy, the man, says that AEW is all about the future. And he says that he'll kick every single person in the Inner Circle's ass until he gets to Jericho. Jericho's trying to halt the future, and at the end of the day, he is going to kick Chris Jericho's ass. This was a great promo right here. Matt Hardy, I like what they're doing. They're flipping back and forth, and I think that if they can find that medium, and they can put the man, Matt Hardy, to good use, I think that it's going to make broken Matt Hardy that much more special. So I actually love this promo here. Kenny Omega versus Alan Angels. So Alan Angels and Kenny Omega, it only went about 6 minutes. Nothing too crazy. Rather academic, but Kenny Omega did make Alan Angels look good. Alan Angels with a step-up senton on Kenny. Angels with the step-up kick combination, but Kenny countered with a Snapdragon. V-trigger, but Alan Angels kicked out. Kenny's like, okay, you know what? You kicked out of that one. Let's see if you can survive another one. So he hit a power bomb and then a second V-trigger. Alan Angels was not kicking out. Alan Angels falls to Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega looks great, and I can definitely say that after Hangman gets out of quarantine, I really do want to see Kenny and Hangman versus the Dark Order, and the Dark Order eventually takes the tag team titles from Kenny and Hangman, thus setting up the Hangman heel turn. We had Scorpio Sky talking about how he always wanted to be a pro wrestler, says that this was it for him, and this was Scorpio Sky getting his name and his persona spotlighted. Says that he dealt with a serious back injury that nearly ended his career. He went to his mom's grave because he was at a crossroads. So he eventually got the surgery that he needed. His back was fine. And he said, let's give wrestling one more try. And in 2017, at the end, in December in 2017, they formed SoCal Uncensored. And then we're going to get the second part of it next week. This was a great video package. This is a great video package highlighting Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky, I'm telling you right now, he's going to be the breakout star of SCU. Daniels and Kazarian, they're both over 40. They're coming to the end of their careers in a few years. Scorpio Sky, he's only about 31 years old. He's got a decade left in this business, and Scorpio Sky, with this type of story that they're telling with Scorpio Sky, I have a feeling that you could really make him into the Kofi Kingston, in a sense, of All Elite Wrestling. You can really get behind a guy like this. When the crowds eventually get back, the crowds are really going to invest in a guy like Scorpio Sky, and they're really going to put forth all of their effort into cheering Scorpio Sky because they want to see a guy like Scorpio Sky with a story like that succeed. Scorpio Sky, you could really tell a great underdog storyline with Scorpio Sky. And the match that he had with Jericho back in November at the end of 2019, it really showcased that Scorpio Sky, he can go. He can go as a singles guy. So I definitely want to see him in a more prominent role as a singles guy after SoCal Uncensored eventually breaks up. And I'm very glad that he got his time as one half of the World Tag Team Champions. Jimmy Havoc versus Orange Cassidy. This was decent. Nothing too crazy. This was decent. Orange Cassidy's definitely an entertaining guy, but I feel as though his gimmick doesn't really work without a crowd. And I know my friend Joseph Conlon, shout out to him, he kind of feels the same way there. So, Jimmy Havoc, he went right after Cassidy. He actually used Cassidy's shirts and jacket to choke him. Havoc with a rolling DVD and a spinning elbow for a 2. Cassidy came back with a drop kick into the corner, suicide dive, crossbody, and the satellite DDT for a 2. We had Cassidy teasing a 450, but he just does a splash. Jericho actually coined it the lazy splash, which I'm actually going to start calling it from here on out. So we hit the lazy splash on Havoc for a 2. Cassidy with the Superman forearm. Sabian actually got involved after Chucky T tried to get involved with Penelope Ford. He took out the best friends. Penelope Ford went to take out Orange Cassidy, but she distracted Jimmy Havoc long enough for Orange Cassidy to roll up Havoc for the win. And then Havoc and Sabian took out Cassidy before the best friends made the save. Decent match. I don't necessarily understand the partnership between Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc. They're two opposites. And just because they're roommates and they're British, they're pairing them together on television. I mean, that's some WWE main roster-like material right there. It's just lazy. That's just lazy. It was a decent match, don't get me wrong. I love Orange Cassidy. I just really don't see the point of this partnership. And now next week we got a no disqualification, no count-out match between the best friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta versus Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc. It should be a good match. I just don't understand this partnership between Havoc and Sabian. So MJF, he was shown in front of his big mansion, and he says that he has never been more depressed because we have never been living in more depressing times because he has yet to wrestle on Dynamite. During his gambling, he pulled a hangnail, and he showed his arm in a sling with his pinky nail wrapped up in cloth. Gotta love MJF. Says that he'll rise from the ashes and he will become your AEW World Champion. I mean, come on. How can you not love MJF? How can you not love MJF? A hangnail. He knows how to pull on your heartstrings. He had everyone in the palm of his hand tweeting out how he was living in such depressing times and he needed surgery. And what does he do? He shows up on Dynamite in a cast with this pinky wrapped up in cloth. I cannot wait till MJF comes back. I believe he's quarantined in New York, if I'm not mistaken. So we had MJF versus, MJF's personal war dog, as he calls it, Wardlow, versus Lee Johnson. And this was just a slaughter. Military press power slam, big release suplex, and Wardlow with an F10, a beautiful looking F10, spinning Lee Johnson around like a fucking propeller on a helicopter for the win. Brock Lesnar, eat your heart out. Wardlow has a better F5 than you. So Brody Lee interviewed a random dude who was eventually revealed to be Preston Vance. Says that people like you worked for his success while others did not. You are now Dark Order. So he hands Preston Vance a mask, sets up the match between him and Justin Law, and Brody Lee destroys him. He just absolutely destroyed this guy. Spinning side slam, discus lariat for the win. Brody Lee, Mr. Brody Lee, gets the win. Stared down Marco Stunt. So next week we get Brody Lee versus Marco Stunt. Next week we also have Cody versus Darby in the semifinals of the TNT Championship Tournament. We had the Bubbly Bunch. Ortiz and Hager are trying to cheer up Sammy. Santana suggests that they do a Flim Flam video, which is a ripoff of TikTok. TikTok's fucking evil, but this Flim Flam was great. I actually did a Flim Flam myself. So we get 3 Flim Flams, and Sammy is the show-off, because he's of this generation that's doing TikToks, so of course he's a show-off. Of course he's a pro at it. So he wins the bottle of hand sanitizer from Jericho, and Jericho just throws the hand sanitizer at his phone, and that was it. Bubbly bunch. It's great. And this is what AEW does. This is what AEW does that I love. They know comedy. They know how to do comedy in pro wrestling. It's not overbearing. It's not forced down anyone's throats. Quick, easy, and effective 2-minute segment between wrestlers that fit this mold of comedy. They're comedic wrestlers in a sense. Hager, Sammy, Santana, Ortiz, and Jericho, they're all just 3 guys, yes. They're all just 5 guys, yes. They can be legitimate, and they are legitimate, but at the end of the day, if they want to have a little fun for 2-3 minutes, I have no problem with that. It really does fit their characters. They're narcissistic. They're like narcissistic teenagers, in a way. They behave like narcissistic teenagers. In a sense, they are AEW's version of the Undisputed Era. And even though the Undisputed Era clearly has the upper hand on them because of their experience, but nevertheless, this was very funny. Quick, easy, 2-3 minutes. Didn't go too long, and it got a laugh out of me. AEW's not perfect, but one thing they do perfectly is comedy and wrestling. That I will say. Kip Sabian versus Dustin Rhodes in the quarterfinal match of the TNT Championship Tournament. This was a good match, and if Dustin Rhodes lost, he would have had to retire. So Sabian was in control for the beginning portions. Going into commercial, Sabian worked on the knee of Dustin Rhodes. We had a pop-up knee and a big lariat on Rhodes for a 2. Didn't get all of it, though. Dustin Rhodes with a big spine buster, atomic drop, and a bulldog. Snap power slam by Dustin Rhodes for a 2. We had Kip Sabian with a big springboard DDT for a 2 count on Dustin Rhodes. Kip Sabian with the springboard DDT, 2 count there. Brandy and Penelope Ford actually got involved. Brandy Rhodes hit a bionic spear, taking out Penelope Ford, and Kip Sabian was on the receiving end of a Canadian Destroyer for the win. The fact that Dustin Rhodes at 41 years old is still doing Canadian Destroyers is mind-boggling to me. I do not know what supplements Dustin Rhodes is on, but please, I would like to be in that good shape at 51 years old. Please, I got 30 years before I'm 51. Dustin, please, teach me your secrets. Please. And next week we get Lance Archer versus Dustin Rhodes. Much better show than last week, although it really wasn't all that special outside of the TNT Championship Tournament matches, but still, nonetheless, we got a good show. It was good. It wasn't overbearingly great, but it was good. NXT, though, had the better show as far as Wednesday Night Wars go, if you guys even care about that. And we're going to talk about NXT right here. Finn Balor kicked off NXT, or the lack of Finn Balor kicked off NXT, because there was an incident backstage that was not made clear between Finn Balor and someone. I actually think it was Imperium, and Imperium ended up taking out Finn Balor. They are building that feud between Finn Balor and Walter. Velveteen Dream started off the show. Dream says that he got stood up by the Demon. Undisputed Era ended up interrupting. Adam Cole says Velveteen Dream is trying to fast-track his way to the NXT title. The Undisputed Era attacked. Keith Lee came out to help, thus setting up a tag team match for later on in the evening, which actually got switched around again, but we'll talk about that when we get to the main event of NXT. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart. This was decent. It wasn't overbearingly special, but it was decent. Shotzi Blackheart has definitely improved. I love what they've been doing with Shotzi Blackheart. I think Shotzi Blackheart, week by week, is showcasing you why she is going to be the underdog babyface of the NXT Women's Division. Now, I can only hope they get this fucking title off of Charlotte Flair. But regardless, that's another point, which I'll talk about later. Shotzi Blackheart, definitely improving. Raquel Gonzalez is not. Raquel Gonzalez honestly reminds me of Braun Strowman. Now, she's not as bad as Braun Strowman. She's not as bad as Nia Jax, but She is green as fuck. She's green as fuck. All she is a woman who is tall and who's a powerhouse. She's very, very stereotypical. Nothing special about her whatsoever. I mean, I'm willing to give her a chance, don't get me wrong, but right now, she does nothing. She does absolutely nothing for the division. She does nothing for me. And she really is taking the legitimacy away from Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai doesn't really need anyone like Raquel Gonzalez. I really don't get the mentality that heels need to have these big buff managers. You take a look at MJF and Wardlow, and MJF has proven that he doesn't need Wardlow's help to win. MJF has won on his own. I don't understand. Ever since Raquel Gonzalez got involved with Dakota Kai hasn't won a single match on her own. Ever since Raquel Gonzalez has been involved with Dakota Kai, there has not been one single match that Dakota Kai has won on her own. She was winning matches on her own just fine before NXT TakeOver Portland. I just don't understand that. So Raquel got hit with some kicks from Shotzi. Shotzi with the cannonball on the ropes. Cannonball by Tegan Nox. Shotzi with the tag to Nox. Nox with a flurry of strikes to Gonzalez. Shotzi with the senton to Raquel. Kai got taken out by Tegan, and Raquel with the one-armed powerbomb for the win. Decent tag team match. Raquel and Kai get the win. Raquel Gonzalez does nothing. Again, she is taking the legitimacy away from Dakota Kai. I'm willing to give her a chance, but right now, again, she's not doing anything impressive whatsoever. WWE actually acknowledged Drake Maverick's video, and I actually found out from Fightful that they are not rehiring Drake Maverick, even though they're showcasing this video of him pouring out his heart after he got released. Very, 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 very like WWE. I am not surprised at this whatsoever, and it really just goes to show you the types of people that are run, or that run the WWE. Scumbags. Jake Atlas versus Drake Maverick. This was the interim NXT Cruiserweight Championship tournament. This was a decent match. And based off of everything, it does not look like Drake Maverick is coming back to WWE. So he did the job for Jake Atlas. Maverick with some uppercuts to Atlas. Big punt kick in the corner. Missile dropkick into Tequila Sunrise. Jake Atlas was able to roll out of the way. We had a tope suicida and a big elbow drop for a 2 on Jake Atlas. Jake Atlas with the super kick. A cartwheel DDT off the ropes. That looked beautiful. Absolutely beautiful from Jake Atlas. Jake Atlas gets the win here in the interim NXT Cruiserweight Championship tournament. Damian Priest cut a promo on Keith Lee. Talks about beating Keith Lee in his first ever main event on NXT. Says that Lee has avoided him, and he's been picking superstars that he knows that he can beat. He picked Cameron Grimes because he can beat him. He picked Dijakovic because he can beat him. The triple threat match wasn't your call, and you still couldn't beat me. You beat Dijakovic. I love the story that they're telling here. Damian Priest has gotten a victory over Keith Lee, but Keith Lee has never gotten a victory over Damian Priest. And now we got a North American Championship match between these two next week. I'm very much looking forward to this. Although I do think it's a bit early. For Keith Lee to lose the North American Championship. I don't want it to happen here. I still think this is going to be a great match. I do still think that Damian Priest should be in top contention for taking the title off of Keith Lee. And I think that Damian Priest is definitely going to be someone. He's definitely going to be someone, whether he wins the title here or whether he wins the title somewhere down the line. I think this is going to be a great match between Lee and Priest. Definitely better than their first match. I think these two are going to have a great showing. I love the story that they're telling. That's pretty much all I can say as far as that relates. Kushida versus Tony Nese, interim NXT Cruiserweight Championship tournament match. This match was a very, very good match. Definitely the match of the night. Definitely the best match of the tournament so far outside of Tozawa and Swerve. And Kushida definitely proving why he is in top contention of winning the NXT Cruiserweight Championship for the time being. I actually think it's going to come down to Swerve and Kushida. Now, that's just me. I think a lot of people have been picking Swerve and Kushida, but if I was to pick one to win, I'm going to go with Kushida, considering that he's been waiting a long, long time to get his due here in NXT. So, Nese had a counter for everything Kushida was doing in the beginning portions of this match, throwing him into the barricade numerous times. We had Kushida locking in the Kimura lock on Nice, but Nice reversed it into a Northern Light suplex for a 2. Nice countered Kushida's attempt to do a hoverboard lock off the top rope. Nice with a beautiful 450 for a very close 2 count. Kushida eventually flipped Nice off the top rope into the hoverboard lock for the win. Very hard hitting. I love the chemistry between Tony Nese and Kushida, and I have Kushida winning this entire tournament, even though I don't think it's necessary, but we are getting some damn good matches out of it. I do not see any reason for this interim NXT Cruiserweight Championship tournament. I would just put the Cruiserweight division on hold for the moment, because I love Jordan Devlin, and I really want to see Jordan Devlin as a champion for a long, long time here. But at the end of the day, you know, it's WWE. They're going to do what the fuck they want. So we had Timothy Thatcher and Matt Riddle in the back cutting a promo. Riddle says he looks into Timothy's blue eyes and sees Stallion Pete. Timothy says his eyes are brown. Riddle says, "Oh, I know. And next week, the WWE Universe is going to find out just how beautiful you are." Thatcher says, "What do you have in mind?" Riddle says, "Trust me, bro." Gotta love Matt Riddle. Gotta love Matt Riddle. Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae were in their house having dinner. Johnny was running down his accomplishments and saying that he feels great. His cup that Candice gave him was actually in the middle of the dinner table. Looked great. He feels great because they are living in reality, and says that NXT is full of toxicity where the bad people are rewarded. He's tried waving that NXT flag on the mountain, but it was nothing more than a mountain of unappreciation. Candice came in, she said that she sacrificed everything for the division, yet she received no help in return when she needed it. They said that they've been stabbed in the back by people they trusted, and now they will tear down NXT and rebuild it in their image. Said that they will reign together as NXT Women's Champion and NXT Champion, and they will get what they deserve. This new power couple shtick that they got going on over here with Candice and Johnny, brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff right here. And I know a lot of people were skeptical about Johnny Gargano and his new heel character, but this could actually work with Candice LeRae. It's actually giving me Triple H, Stephanie McMahon-like vibes for NXT. This could work out really, really well. And you know what? By the end of the year, Velveteen Dream, if he's NXT champion, Johnny, a heel Johnny, beats Velveteen Dream, and Candice LeRae eventually becomes NXT Women's Champion by the end of the year going into 2021. This will do wonders for NXT. It's really going to spark up that energy for NXT that has been sorely needed. It's been sorely missing. That spark for NXT has really been missing since TakeOver in Portland in February. If we can get something like this, a takeover between Johnny and Candice holding the major titles, it could really spark up that sense of adrenaline and spark up that sense of interest that NXT has lacked for a while now. So I'm really loving this. They could go a lot of ways with this. I'm very intrigued to see where they go with Gargano and Candice in this new heel character that they have for both of them. Mia Yim versus Jessie Kamea. Jessie from the Mae Young Classic. She is back in a new character. No more of the Kylie Ray ripoff. Kamea, she showed a new aggressive side. Not very fluid in the ring, but aggressive nonetheless. Yim, eventually at Protect Your Neck for the win. Charlotte Flair came out, and Charlotte said she's always wanted a match with Mia Yim ever since that initial match 5 years ago. Next week, she says she's going to help make Yim into the good hand that we know that she is. She's always been a good hand, and now I'm going to help you become one. So obviously Charlotte Flair throwing in that cheap little jab there. So now we got the match confirmed for next week. So first Caden Carter, now Mia Yim on the list of people that Charlotte Flair is going to take out one by one. Jack Gallagher versus El Hijo del Fantasma. This was another decent match. The NXT Cruiserweight Championship Tournament was really the highlight of the show here. We had Gallagher sending Fantasma into the barricade. We had a rolling plancha over the top by Fantasma going into commercial. Super kick to Gallagher and a suicide dive. Big headbutt by Gallagher for a 2. Fantasma eventually hit the Samoan driver for the win, and Fantasma gets the win here and gets the opportunity to face someone else, obviously. And he's going to get a couple more opportunities here should he continue to win. I still don't think Fantasma is going to make it to the finals. I'm going with Kushida and Isaiah Swerve Scott, even though Isaiah Swerve Scott currently has a loss right now. We'll see how that works out, but this was okay. This was an okay debut for Fantasma. I feel as though it would have been a little bit better if it was in front of a crowd. As far as where he can go, I really don't see him amounting to anything else other than the Cruiserweight division. He just seems like Grand Metalik 2.0. And I love Grand Metalik, but they're not doing anything with him on SmackDown, so I don't really expect him to do much with Fantasma when he eventually leaves NXT. We had these masked individuals that tried to kidnap Wild and Mendoza. They succeeded in them, but they did not succeed in kidnapping El Hijo del Fantasma. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm very much intrigued. I actually want to find out what's going on here between these masked figures taking cruiserweights. We'll find out what happens. I don't know if it has something to do with Jordan Devlin or not, but it's definitely intriguing nonetheless. Velveteen Dream and Keith Lee versus Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. We had a big brawl starting before the match. Damian Priest was actually waiting in the shadows, and Damian Priest took out Lee with a nightstick. 2 nightstick shots to the throat that took Keith Lee out of the match, and it became a 2-on-1 handicap match. But then in the shadows towards the entranceway, Dexter Lumis was watching, and Dexter Lumis came up on the apron to help Velveteen Dream. Lumis made the tag. He started lighting up the Undisputed Era. He lit up both men. Lumis, he was going for a suicide dive. Velveteen Dream made the tag after Lumis took out Adam Cole with a Uranagi. He went over the top rope, taking out Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong, and Dream with the Purple Rainmaker for the win. Not really a good main event, but it did get the point across, and Velveteen Dream pinned the NXT champion, Adam Cole. And I love Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole, but at the end of the day, they need a crowd. They need a crowd. A match like that and a win for Velveteen Dream, winning the NXT championship, it needs to be in front of a crowd. It cannot, and I repeat, it cannot happen in front of no one. I really do hope things are back to normal by June, because I really want to see crowds back in NXT, giving back that same energy and giving back that same intensity that the superstars give within the ring. Dream and Cole needs a crowd. Karrion Kross versus Tommaso Ciampa needs a crowd. A moment for Damian Priest winning the North American Championship, that needs a crowd as well. I really don't know what's going on. Again, we're living in uncertain times. Everyone's been saying that. We don't know when this entire pandemic's finally going to end. We'll find out, but I only hope that these moments happen with the crowd. But it really does seem as though they're building towards these moments possibly next month. We'll see what happens. Definitely a very good show. I enjoyed it, even though wrestling with the crowd is complete shit. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. SmackDown. I really don't know what else to say about SmackDown that I haven't already said for weeks and weeks and months and months and months on the channel, ever since they moved to Fox. The best thing on the show, and it wasn't even that good, was probably the Triple H 25-year anniversary celebration. And I love Triple H, but realistically, the ending segment was a complete waste of time. It resulted in nothing. Now, the rest of the show didn't result in anything either. We'll go over everything. We're going to start with the New Day kicking off the show. The fact that the New Day are 3-time champions in 6 months is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. I've said this before. If you are constantly going to give the titles back to the same people over and over and over again, you may as well not even have a tag team division to begin with, and you may as well just make the titles props of the New Day. So they came out, they were celebrating their tag team title reigns, and if you support New Day as tag team champions again, you're exactly what is wrong with the community. You do not have a right to even open your fucking mouth about professional wrestling. So the Lucha House Party came out. They wanted to congratulate the New Day. Miz and Morrison ended up interrupting, said that they want their titles back, so Grand Metalik rambled some stuff in Spanish before the Forgotten Sons came out. They said that they will rise up and be forgotten no more. Blake said that they are savages. They can strike at any time, and no one will see it coming. So they attack the New Day and the Lucha House Party as Miz and Morrison escape, and they stand tall in the end. I am all for the Forgotten Sons and Lucha House Party getting opportunities because I want to see new tag teams in the tag team title scene. I want to see something new. I want to see something fresh. I want to see something that we have never seen before. But how can anyone take Lucha House Party seriously when they have been doing nothing but sitting in the back only to come out for the Elimination Chamber and then just now? They've been sitting in the back ever since they got drafted to Fox, and the only times that they've even surfaced is for the Elimination Chamber, to compete in the Elimination Chamber, and then now. And on top of that, Forgotten Sons, they were great here. The Forgotten Sons were great here. They look like superstars here. But it's way too early for the Forgotten Sons. The Forgotten Sons got one fucking win on SmackDown. How is anyone supposed to take the Forgotten Sons seriously when they haven't built up enough legitimacy? And it just goes to show you that WWE does not know how to fucking book the tag team division. They don't know how to book any of their divisions correctly. The fact that you have all of these teams in the tag team division on SmackDown. You got New Day, you got Usos, you got Miz and Morrison, you got Heavy Machinery, you got Lucha House Party, you got Cesaro and Nakamura, you got the Forgotten Sons. You have all of those tag teams in there. And none of them have any sense of momentum or legitimacy. And it really did show. So Miz and Morrison said that they're going to go to corporate, and they're going to get a match with the Lucha House Party. So we got that match set for later. Baron Corbin versus Drew Gulak, Money in the Bank qualifying match. This was decent for what it was. Decent match here. I'm definitely glad Drew Gulak is getting the opportunity to showcase what he can do. Gulak with a dropkick sending Baron Corbin over the announce table going into commercial. Corbin with the sliding clothesline for a 2 on Drew Gulak. Gulak mounted a comeback with a big crossbody for a 2. Dragon screw leg whip into the steps on Corbin. Diving clothesline for a 2 by Gulak. Cesaro and Nakamura take out Bryan. Corbin took advantage with an end of days for the win. And then afterwards, Cesaro and Nakamura helped Baron Corbin take out Gulak. Decent match, but why are Nakamura and Cesaro helping out Baron Corbin? Why are they taking out Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak after Sami Zayn already beat Daniel Bryan and successfully retained the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania? The feud's over. They have no reason to go after Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak. They haven't done or said anything to Bryan or Gulak ever since Sami Zayn beat them, or ever since Sami Zayn beat Bryan at WrestleMania. So what reason do they have to go after Daniel Bryan? Makes no sense. And on top of that, Baron Corbin is now in Money in the Bank. Now we have a legitimate reason to be scared. I have no confidence in this company that they're going to do the right thing. Just wait. They got Nia Jax on the women's side to give you a heart attack, and now they got Baron Corbin on the men's side to give you a heart attack. Decent match, but at the end of the day, makes no sense that Bryan is being attacked by Cesaro and Nakamura after they haven't said or done anything to Bryan or Gulak ever since WrestleMania. Yeah, Daniel Bryan beat Cesaro in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. Who cares at the end of the day? They beat him in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. Who cares? WWE actually acknowledged that Gronk is 24/7 champion and he's returning to the NFL. I swear to God, if we're getting crossover videos between Gronk and fucking Riddick Moss on the field at NFL games, I swear to God, I might as well just stop watching SmackDown altogether. I may not even review SmackDown until crowds come back. I may not even review SmackDown for the rest of the year. I swear to God, if we start seeing that, I'm done. I really am done. We had Sheamus versus Daniel Vito. Bro kick for the win, and that was pretty much it. And Jeff Hardy had another video package, The Redemption Story, Part 3. Showcased him and Matt coming back and winning the tag team titles at WrestleMania. And then afterwards, during Miz and Morrison's entrances, Cole was talking about how he doesn't understand why Sheamus is targeting a guy like Jeff Hardy. Sheamus came and ripped Cole's headset off. No matter how good a match between Sheamus and Jeff Hardy could be, it doesn't make any sense in the regard that you have these two guys who have been on winning streaks ever since they came back. Sheamus hasn't lost a match since he came back in January. Jeff Hardy recently just beat Corbin. So you're going to have this matchup at Money in the Bank, and it's clear as day that they're not doing Sami Zayn versus Jeff Hardy. I don't even know where the fuck Sami Zayn even is. You're going to do this match at Money in the Bank, and you're going to have Jeff Hardy go over. You're going to kill the momentum for Sheamus. You're going to kill his winning streak, only to have Jeff Hardy go up against the Fiend Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship, and you're going to ultimately kill that winning streak right there, sacrificing it to the Fiend, instead of one of these winning streaks actually resulting in something of substance for them. You're telling me one of these guys can't go for the Intercontinental Championship? Why do you have to pit them against each other and kill both of their winning streaks by having Hardy go over Sheamus, and then Hardy is going to fight Wyatt for the Universal Championship, and Hardy's eventually is pretty much going to lay down for Wyatt? It's clear as day that Jeff Hardy is not getting an Intercontinental title push, so he's just going to get a world title push, he's going to get a match, and then he's going to lay down for Bray Wyatt. And that's pretty much it. Does not make any sense. Why would you sacrifice both winning streaks instead of having one of them result in something? Something that could benefit a star. Something that could actually build legitimacy for more than just one person. Because you only have about 2 or 3 individuals in the entire WWE across Raw and SmackDown period that have any sense of legitimacy whatsoever. My fucking throat hurts because of this shit. Miz and Morrison versus Lucha House Party. Didn't even go 5 minutes. Didn't even go 5 minutes. And we had the Lucha House Party getting the win here. Surprise win here on Miz and Morrison. I actually expected Miz and Morrison to win, but listen, I'm happy. I'm happy, don't get me wrong. I'm happy that Lucha House Party is finally getting a win here, but one win does not constitute as a sense of legitimacy. One win's not going to do anything. I have no problem with Lucha House Party getting into the tag team title scene down the line, but if you're going to have them in a tag team title scene, they need more than just one win. Yes, they beat a pair of former champions, I get that, but how much more time are you going to spend building them up, or are you just going to force them into a tag team title scene just like that? Doesn't make any sense. And that was pretty much that. Sasha Banks versus Lacey Evans. Sasha Banks versus Lacey Evans. I don't know what you want me to say about this. I really don't. I mean, look, the storyline that they're playing out with Sasha Banks and Bayley, they're booking that very, very nicely, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do. I don't necessarily mind that Sasha Banks lost and she's not in Money in the Bank. She's still a fucking idiot for signing a new deal with the company, but that's another story for another time. I've already ranted and raved about that numerous times here on the channel. The storyline being played out with Sasha Banks and Bayley is very, very nicely, and I definitely cannot wait to see how it turns out come SummerSlam. But Jesus, Mother and Joseph. Jesus, Mother and Joseph. Lacey Evans is cancer. She's cancer. She's absolute cancer. I'm sorry. I apologize. Lacey Evans is cancer. Not even Sasha Banks can bring Lacey Evans to a great match. Lacey Evans is worthless. I don't know what to tell you in that regard. We had Sasha sending Lacey's hand into the LED post when Lacey went after Bayley. So Evans with a running knee, which looked sloppy as fuck. We had Sasha with the Meteor 4-2. Banks was driven headfirst multiple times into the post by Lacey. Sasha locked in the Banks statement. Lacey with the women's right. Bayley put Sasha's foot on the top rope, or on the rope. Bayley then distracted the ref while Banks had Lacey rolled up. We had a interaction between Bayley and Banks. A women's right, and Lacey Evans wins. This was a terrible, terrible, terrible match. Lacey is sloppy. Lacey's uncoordinated. Lacey is not good in the ring whatsoever. If you think that she is, you need fucking mental help. You need fucking mental help. I don't give a shit who you are. You need mental help. Tamina then came out with a super kick to Bayley. And that was pretty much that. Hyping up their match at Money in the Bank for the SmackDown Live Women's Championship. Again, I will state, the storyline between Bayley and Sasha is great, but Lacey Evans, cancer. Tamina is AIDS. And it just goes to show you how shit the SmackDown Live Women's Division really is. Braun and Bray's history is shown, and how Bray brought Braun into the WWE. I was barely even paying attention during this segment. Get the title off of Braun Strowman, give it to Bray, and build to the match that you should have built towards. Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship with Bryan going over. I've said it before, and I will say it again. Daniel Bryan was the only man, and he currently still is, the only man that will benefit from a win over The Fiend. He's the only man that would benefit from a win over The Fiend. Why? Listen to the reaction that he got at the Royal Rumble. Every single time that The Fiend has been put against someone, The Fiend has always been favorited by the audience. Seth Rollins, Goldberg, John Cena, Finn Balor, The Miz, everyone. Not Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan has had the crowd in the palm of his hand, and when he had the strap locked in on The Fiend, in the yes lock, in the middle of the ring at the Royal Rumble, the crowd was salivating at the mouth because they wanted Daniel Bryan to beat Bray Wyatt. That right there, that is all you need to know. Daniel Bryan is the only one that can make it believable. He's the only one that could get a babyface reaction, and he has the history with Bray Wyatt. Whether it would have been at WrestleMania or after WrestleMania, now they have no choice but to do it after WrestleMania. Give the title to Wyatt and build towards the match that you should have built towards. Bryan and Wyatt with Bryan going over. Simple as that. Carmella and Mandy Rose next week in a Money in the Bank qualifying match, and then Otis and Dolph Ziggler next week in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. Why is Otis in a Money in the Bank qualifying match when Heavy Machinery realistically would have been the next SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions? I don't understand this company's mentality with Heavy Machinery. I swear to God, they're like Enzo and Cass. They're like the main roster version. They're like the new version of Enzo and Cass. When Enzo and Cass got to the main roster, they were around everything except for the tag team titles. The one thing that they should have been around. Carmella and Dana Brooke versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Who gives a fuck? I barely even paid attention to this match. Thank God, this match only went 7 minutes. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross retain. Great. Where do they go from here? I hope to the nearest junkyard to dispose of those worthless pieces of trash known as the Women's Tag Team Championships. Sorry, not sorry. Next week we got Daniel Bryan versus King Corbin. Great. Triple H comes out to celebrate his 25-year anniversary. He was interrupted by Shawn Michaels. Michaels says that he's got 2 words for you. Triple H went to hug him, but Michael said, whoa, no, social distancing. I love you, but social distancing. That actually got a chuckle out of me. That was probably one of the only funny moments about this segment. Don't listen. I love Triple H. I love Triple H both in and out of the ring, as a wrestler and as a creative mind. Triple H was actually the WWE champion when I first started watching pro wrestling, so I was a big Triple H guy back then when I was a kid. But this segment, no matter how entertaining it was, and no matter if we were celebrating 25 years of Triple H or not, it went way overboard. It really wasn't necessary for it to go 25 minutes. And it resulted in nothing. It resulted in nothing but childish bickering between 50-year-olds and a 75-year-old senile fuck. So Michaels ran down their greatest accomplishments as DX. They ran down a list of silly moments that they had as DX. They ran down Triple H's WrestleMania loss record. Stephanie FaceTimed Triple H during the show. Michaels was mocking Stephanie, calling her Stephanie No Fun, which was funny. Michaels was the funniest thing about this segment. So Flair FaceTimed Triple H, sending him congrats, saying not to let Shawn super kick him at the end of the segment. Road Dogg FaceTimed Triple H. Vince McMahon came out. Vince started talking about the gobbledygooker, comparing it to the Katie Vick situation, talking about Bayley, this is your life. Said, good night and good night, Padre. And they shut the lights on Triple H and Shawn Michaels. They manufactured some crickets in there. And Vince said that was the story of his career. And that was pretty much that. Another worthless edition of SmackDown on Fox. Ladies and gentlemen, on to the news, rumors, and reports here on the LFU. My first report here. According to Dave Meltzer, in the latest edition of Wrestling Observer newsletter, Samoa Joe is still not cleared from his recent concussion. So, for those of you wondering whether his suspension was legitimate or his concussion was legitimate, or if that was just a cover-up for one or the other, both of them were legitimate. Both of them were legitimate. He did get a legitimate concussion filming that commercial for Monday Night Raw where he went through a table and he hit his head. So they decided, hey, let's put the suspension in there with the concussion so that way we can get knock out two birds with one stone, and that was it. So Samoa Joe is still not cleared from his recent concussion, so he should be back, I would say, probably in the next month. By June is my prediction. He could be back before then. I don't know. He's been out with the concussion for about 2 months now. We'll find out what happens. But I wish Samoa Joe a speedy recovery there. According to a report from Tony Quant of Mirror Sport, NXT UK will not be seeing any roster cuts at this time and will continue to get paid in full. He tweeted on April 19th, and I quote, "Just spoke to a source who has confirmed that WWE NXT UK will be making no cuts to its roster at this time. Also, the roster are getting paid in full and will not be furloughed as they are all self-employed." So that's definitely good news for NXT UK. That's definitely good news for all the superstars of NXT UK. Outside of Cassius Ohno, obviously, he was actually a coach that got terminated. He's actually going to make his return as Chris Hero. I wish him luck. But this is definitely good news for those involved in NXT UK. I really don't want to see anyone in NXT UK go, especially since NXT UK, as I've stated before, has been, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most underrated wrestling brands on the planet in general. And I've said it before, it's easy to pick out NWA Power, New Japan Pro Wrestling, NXT, AEW. NXT UK, they've been doing some great things since the start of the year, and I'm glad they're not seeing any roster cuts. I definitely want to see where they go after this entire pandemic is over, because they were building towards a pretty stacked NXT TakeOver Dublin card before all of this took into effect. I got some news on Sarah Logan. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com noted the following regarding Sarah Logan, who was released from WWE last Wednesday. And I quote, "Speculation among the locker room is that Sarah Logan is expected to be back with the company in some capacity in the near future, if she isn't already. As with the case with anyone getting fired, there will be plenty of unhappy people, but we've heard numerous people loudly went to bat for her." And I would actually expect that, considering that she is married to Eric, a.k.a. Rowe, the smaller one of the Viking Raiders. So I would assume that there would be some there would be some people that would go to bat for her, so that way Eric, aka Ro, can have his wife back with him. I got some news on NXT Japan. I did make note of NXT Japan last week during my rant on the releases and furloughs on Black Wednesday. Plans to expand into the Japanese market are now quote-unquote dead in the water because of the pandemic, according to Dave Meltzer. He reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that any plans for global expansion have been scrapped because of the recent cutbacks in the company, in which 33 superstars were released. Tokyo Sports also spoke to a source in WWE who confirmed the recent cost-cutting measures have put the company's plan on hold for the time being. And to be quite honest with you, I am glad that it did, because I said that this monopolization mentality of Vince McMahon needs to end. Although I don't like how they said they've put it on hold, I really wish it would have been scrapped altogether, because there's no need for an NXT Japan. If you think that you're actually going to make a dent in the Japanese market when you got New Japan Pro Wrestling over there, you're out of your mind. There's no way that you're going to do anything as far as Japanese wrestling goes with NXT Japan if you got New Japan Pro Wrestling over there. They are the WWE of Japan. You're not going to do anything. Okay? The monopolization mentality needs to end, and this mentality that Vince McMahon has of wanting to be at the epicenter of everything and all the money flowing to him, it needs to be, it needs to die. It needs to absolutely die. Someone needs to sit down with Vince McMahon and talk to him about this fucked up mentality that he has, where he needs to micromanage the entire industry, not just what's going on in his company, the entire industry in general. I got some news on Cesaro. During a recent episode of Arn podcast, Anderson opened up about Cesaro. For some reason, the Swiss Superman is not a quote-unquote favorite guy, although I don't know why, because Cesaro has everything that you fucking want in a pro wrestler. He's athletic as hell. He's in great shape. He's still young. He's not a favorite guy in the front office. He was told to stop doing impressive moves and craft the moveset we know today. He stated, and I quote, "He's not a favorite guy, as you know, of the front office for whatever reason that is. They're the only ones that know, because everyone else across the planet seems to think he's a superstar," which he is. But he continued to get leaned on to stop doing all that stuff, quote-unquote impressive moves, as a heel. It was just too flashy and all that stuff. I really don't understand the mentality of the WWE when it comes to heels. I don't understand the mentality of Vince McMahon when it comes to heels. I swear to God, it's becoming more and more evident that this guy just cannot get out of the fucking 80s. You're really holding a superstar back from doing impressive and flashy moves because they're a heel? You're holding superstars back from doing, and let me tell you something. It's not just Cesaro. They've held back constant superstars. It's not just Cesaro. Cesaro's just the topic of discussion here. Cesaro is far from the first individual that they have shafted. They've shafted and held back almost everyone. They shafted and held back AJ Styles and Nakamura back at WrestleMania 34. I don't understand the mentality of WWE to hold back superstars from putting on the best possible show that you can have them put on. You're really going to shaft superstars and hold them back just because it's not part of your vision? It's not part of your vision, your outdated vision? Your vision fucking sucks. If this is your vision, it sucks. No wonder why the ratings are dipping. And trust me, look, I know it definitely has something to do with the pandemic, don't get me wrong. No one's watching wrestling during this entire pandemic, but one of the main reasons why Raw and SmackDown's ratings have been dipping even before this pandemic, a year before this pandemic, a year around this time, Raw and SmackDown had ratings under 2 million. You wonder why your ratings are dipping. It's because your vision is outdated. Your vision's outdated. Your vision is not working. It hasn't worked in this modern era for the last 6, 7+ years. He's a heel. He's a heel, so he can't do flashy moves. Really? Really? So you don't want Cesaro to give his all. You don't want guys like Cesaro. You don't want heels to give their all. And on top of that, why do you care if a heel does flashy moves now? No one's in the fucking crowd. They're putting on shows in front of no one. And they're probably going to be putting on shows in front of no one for the next 2-3 months. I hope not, but more likely than not, that's what we're getting for the next 2-3 months. Why are you so focused on a heel putting on a flashy show and giving you all these impressive moves, and you're worried about the crowd getting behind him when there's no crowd to even begin with? So right then and there, it just goes to show you how fucked up this guy's mentality really is. It's ridiculous. And my final report based on the thumbnail: Triple H was recently interviewed about doing another Mae Young Classic. Now, he stated, and I quote, "We're going to do it again here soon, and we're kind of getting to that point again now." Like, wow. There is just a lot out there. So they are here and there, and they're all over the place. I think the talent sort of gravitate toward finding each other, and they end up in these little pockets, and they're all learning from each other, but helping to bring that out and show it to the rest of the world is the goal. So, Triple H has confirmed we are getting another Mae Young Classic. I love women's wrestling. I love all wrestling. I want to see better for a lot of wrestlers, whether you be in a mid-card division, a women's division, a tag team division, the main event scene. I want to see the best possible competition from everyone. And don't misconstrue my words here. I loved both Mae Young Classics. Both Mae Young Classics were great. They had some great matches. They told some great stories. They had very unique characters. And we got two great winners. We got Kairi Sane and we got Toni Storm. I was very much impressed at the production of the tournament. And we got some great wrestling for 2 months. But realistically speaking, you need to think about it in this regard. No matter how good the tournaments were, and they were great tournaments, what has WWE done with the women that have signed with the company following the tournaments? More likely than not, WWE would sign 40 to 50% of these women, and they would be hoarded. Everyone just was up in arms, and they were throwing hissy fits and riots on social media last week because the WWE hoarded talent, and a lot of people were coming out saying the same thing. WWE hoarded talent, and they put themselves in this situation. So you're pretty much supporting this tournament so WWE can hoard women's wrestlers and barely even give them an opportunity. I mean, just look at what happened to Deonna Purrazzo. Look what happened to Deonna Purrazzo. Look what happened to Sarah Logan. Look what happened to MJ Jenkins. Deonna Purrazzo, barely given an opportunity, fired. MJ Jenkins, barely given an opportunity, fired. Sarah Logan, barely given an opportunity, fired. Look what happened to some of the women that have gone to NXT. Kairi Sane had some great matches in NXT, had a great run in NXT, great feud with Shayna Baszler, NXT Women's Champion. She's called up to the main roster, she's paired with Asuka, and they lay down for Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross more times than I can count. They have a women's tag team title reign that resulted in nothing, because those titles are worth about just as much as the lint in my back pocket, and they lose the titles, and now she lost to Nia Jax twice, back-to-back weeks, and now more than likely than not, she's on her way out of the company. Shayna Baszler, she made it to the finals of the first Mae Young Classic. Look what happened to Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler, a great run in NXT. Probably one of the most dominant females, if not the most dominant female in NXT history. Two-time NXT Women's Champion. A combined 500 plus days as NXT Women's Champion. She makes her way up to the main roster, and she's booked like a monster, only to lose to Becky Lynch in 8.5 minutes. And all of that credibility that they built up for Shayna Baszler is gone. Gone. Rhea Ripley, sacrificed to Charlotte Flair. Kaden Carter, sacrificed to Charlotte Flair. Mia Yim, next week, will be sacrificed to Charlotte Flair. You take a look at the company's vision and the company's portrayal of women's wrestling, and you're out here supporting a Mae Young Classic. While we may get some great matches in the hands of Triple H, they're either going to sign 50% of the women that are in the tournament. They're either going to have great runs in NXT and then get called up to the main roster and get treated like trash, or they're going to be hoarded and not even given an opportunity. You take a look at what happened. Look at even what happened with the Cruiserweight Classic. Look what happened with the Cruiserweight Classic. Cruiserweight Classic was probably one of the best tournaments that WWE's done in the entire modern era. They got called up to Monday Night Raw, and they were treated like shit up until Enzo got released, and Vince McMahon gave Triple H creative control over 205 Live. Now look at the Cruiserweights. Now they're in the hands of Triple H, and now Triple H is booking them like legitimate superstars. Unless you look like a Victoria's Secret model, like Alexa Bliss or Dana Brooke, or unless you are related to a famous wrestling family, like Nia Jax or Charlotte Flair, you ain't never going to get spotlighted. You ain't never going to get the proper opportunities that you deserve. Becky Lynch is lucky. Becky Lynch is lucky as fuck to be in the position that she is in. Bayley is the luckiest bitch on SmackDown Live to be getting as long of a reign as champion that she's getting. Asuka is lucky to have the accomplishments that she has. She's lucky she got the Women's Royal Rumble. She's lucky she got a SmackDown Live Women's title reign. She's lucky she got a Women's Tag Team title reign. Unless you are lucky as fuck, you ain't never going to get the proper opportunity if you don't have a famous last name or you don't look like a Victoria's Secret model. Why would anyone support another Mae Young Classic in this regard if the company's portrayal of women's wrestling, specifically Vince McMahon's portrayal of women's wrestling, has been undoubtedly the worst portrayal of women's wrestling out of any wrestling company in the world? AEW's women's division ain't perfect, but I could look at AEW's women's division and I can find a better portrayal of women's wrestling in that company than I can on Raw and SmackDown. You take a look at Raw and SmackDown, take a look at the talent that they got on Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw's women's division isn't even that bad. You got Becky, you got Shayna, you got Belair, you got Asuka, you got Liv Morgan, you got Ruby Riott. The women's division on Raw isn't necessarily bad outside of Nia fucking Jax, but what are they doing with it? They're doing nothing with it. So it doesn't matter how great the tournament's going to be. We're going to get a great 2-month tournament. And then by the end of the tournament, we're going to get a great 2-month tournament. Then by the end of the tournament, we're going to get a great winner. We're going to get probably a great finals. And, you know, even sometimes even the finals aren't even that good. Look what happened to Toni Storm and Io Shirai at Evolution. That realistically should have gone 20, 25 minutes. That match went 10 minutes. And it just goes to show you what Vince McMahon really thought of women like Toni Storm and Io Shirai. That match went 10 minutes. Meanwhile, Nikki Bella got 15 minutes against a woman like Ronda Rousey. Meanwhile, the stereotypical house show tag team match with Alicia fucking Fox and Mickie James taking on Trish Stratus and Lita, that got more time than the Mae Young Classic Finals. I'm all for women's wrestling. I'm all for women and a lot of individuals getting the proper opportunity, but why is anyone realistically going to support another Mae Young Classic after what has happened with the majority of people that have signed from the last two? Great runs in NXT and then treated like trash on the main roster, or hoarded and then fired. Same thing with the Cruiserweights. It all goes back to the top of the food chain. It's because of Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon's vision and Vince McMahon's mentality when it comes to portraying his superstars on his programming is the problem. Look at what we got on fucking SmackDown Live with Lacey Evans going over Sasha Banks and a worthless women's tag team title match between Carmella, Dana Brooke, Alexa Bliss, and Nikki Cross. Look at Vince McMahon's portrayal of Nikki Cross. Look at Vince McMahon's portrayal of Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross was one of the most legitimate women in the entire division in NXT. She gets called up, has a miraculous character change, and now is Alexa Bliss's mini-me. A Scottish mini-me of Alexa Bliss. I don't really know what else I can say in that regard. I really don't. My throat hurts. I am hungry. I am going to get some lunch now. I'm not saying that the tournament's not going to be great. I'm not saying we're not going to get some great stories being told in the tournament. I'm not saying that we're not going to get great matches. But at the end of the day, the events that followed the tournaments were the same old shit that we're so accustomed to. WWE disappointing us with the talent that they sign. Terrible booking, terrible build, and terrible production. I ranted about 3 months ago on Becky Lynch crying out sexism in an interview, and I pointed out build, booking, and production are the three most important things when it comes to building a match, a storyline, a feud, a superstar, a show. Those three things always make or break something when it comes to pro wrestling. And in WWE's case, the build, the booking, and production of the women that they signed after the first two tournaments, it killed them. It killed all of those women. It killed all of their momentum. It killed all of their legitimacy. And it resulted in nothing but disappointment. It resulted in nothing but disappointment. That is why I am not hyped at all. I'm not excited at all about another Mae Young Classic. And realistically, nobody should. And if you are excited about another Mae Young Classic, you are setting yourself up for disappointment. You're setting yourself up for utter disappointment. I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. The best fucking YouTuber on the face of this planet is going to go about his day now. Like, comment, and subscribe. Do all that. Check out all the links in the description. I am going to try and cool myself down, although I do have one mode and one mode only, and that's piping fucking hot. Jesus. Be lucky. I'll be lucky if I survive talking about the WWE for another month during this pandemic. You guys have a great weekend. I will catch you next Wednesday for Quarantine with Thunder, episode number